That was former Eagles team president Joe Banner, his quote. He said, anyone using a 1 and a tight end is convinced that he is that guy. It's playing a long shot to pick a tight end in the first round versus picking a position that is much harder to find in later rounds. So I think you have to double and triple down that you are sure, especially considering it's a double-edged sword. You're also giving up a chance to take a corner or a pass rusher or a wide receiver or any of the high number of other positions where your chances of finding a starter drop precipitously after the first round, gentlemen.
Yeah, I just think you have to be willing to get fired. I think that, because you can do that with a lot of different things. There was like a 3-year run there where all the first-round wide receivers were either hurt or weren't good, and it was like, oh, my goodness, should we stop doing this? And then you start finding good ones again. You go, oh, okay. And for tight end, it is one of those positions. When you just look how much they make, the NFL is telling you we don't value the tight end the same way we value receiver or corner or left tackle or quarterback or –
Great point.
And you can keep going. And that's what it is. It would just have to be your conviction that, look, if you had the opportunity to draft George Kittle, knowing what you know now, would you pick him at 10? Hell
yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely you would.
If you had the opportunity to draft Travis Kelce at 10, would you do it?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yep.
Heck yeah. And you say, I can't help that we and every team in the league didn't realize how good Travis Kelce was going to be and how good George Kittle was going to be, and that we missed those. But I'm not missing this one because of that. Like, I'm not letting this opportunity go because the league has missed. Like, this is our guy. He has the ability to change the game. I mean, I couldn't imagine what happens if you put Kyle Pitts on the Cowboys. Like, I'd be in there drawing diagrams. They'd be like, Jeff, you do realize tight ends in the first round don't usually work out, and you can find good ones or decent ones or starters later. And I'd go, right, shut up, hold on, I'm drawing. And I'd start drawing. And I'd be like, who do they double? And they'd be like, Amari Cooper. And I'd be like, cool. All right, here's Kyle Pitts. Here's the one guy who has to cover him, and here's where he scores the touchdown on every play. And then they'd be like, all right, but what about when they help on Kyle Pitts? I'd be like, here's your number one receiver. His name's Amari Cooper, and he gets one-on-one coverage. This is amazing. It's just you're believing that the player is good enough that the trends don't matter. And that's what you're betting on. You're just betting on this is about this guy, not tight end, not salaries of tight ends. It's about that guy.
We do need to balance your gut and your eyes and your balls, really, with mathematical history, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a believer in that.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that I would, if it were me making that pick in the top 10, and somebody will, and I won't blame them for it because I think he's that good, I would be ready for those questions. I'd be like, yeah, my nuts are on this pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm good with that because that's how good he is.
Or
So
you
get ready.
Or you can do what I would just do if I was at the podium. I would just say I just drafted a 240-pound wide receiver is what I just did.
There you go.
I drafted
tag year comes around.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, exactly. But this guy, and I thought Jeff did a great job of explaining what you will go through. But yeah, this guy is rare. I mean, he is a weapon. When you think you have him covered, you don't. When you watch him run routes, you throw the ball near him, contested or not, red zone, short yardage, it doesn't matter. I mean, this guy, he's got that rare ability to just make plays down the field. And, I feel like, though, to me, when you look at him and I watch what Dan Mullen and those guys did with him and where they lined him up and how they used him, whether it was as a wing, whether it was detached, whether it was all the way outside, there's so many things you could do with this guy. To me, if you say he's a tight end, well, I think you're doing a disservice to him. He's a tight end because he's 6'6" and 240 pounds, but he plays like a 6'6", 240-pound wide receiver is what he plays like.
He could beat you with quickness.
Yeah, that's the thing about it is his initial when he gets off, especially if you put him on the move, imagine somebody running 4.4, 4.5 coming at you, 240 pounds, and now you have to deal with him pushing off of you and stuff like that.
No, it's not
that's
fun.
that's where Kittle and those guys win. Because they know how to use their body. Young Jason Witten knew how to use his body in order to keep guys away from him. You can't cover this guy. I mean, Joe Horn. I keep saying Joe. J.C. Horn is the closest I've seen to covering this guy. And that was and that's because what do we talk about J.C. Horn? He holds his rear off,
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what you got to look at.
Well, athletic size is a huge X factor across all sports.
Right.
And, if you guys were big believers, I'd sign off on it. Can we explore, do you guys have theories why can't teams see the great tight ends in college? I mean, they're doing a pretty good job. Number 3 on the list is TJ Hawkinson, and number 6 on the list is Noah Fant. And the majority of these guys
They
are
played together, too, by the way.
Yeah, at Iowa.
Yeah.
I remember that class and you guys talking about those dudes. But Gronk was a second rounder. I mean, they can find usually the guys are in the first 3 rounds. But why historically do college teams not know how to use these guys well enough to put them on display?
That's part of it.
Yeah.
You know how many catches George Kittle had in his entire college career? And he played all 4 years. He had 48 catches.
Yeah.
Oh.
His last year, he had 22 catches for 314 yards.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just like, wait, we want to pick how high? The guy who caught 3 balls a game? That's what we want to do there? I think in college you have so many times that a quarterback is mobile enough to kill you. You got so many good receivers. The field's so wide open that a lot of times the tight end is an afterthought. I don't know because I wasn't watching when Kelsey was drafted. I don't know what he was like in college. But it is. Yes, it's a thing that you gotta snuggle up to, Gavin. You have to snuggle up to that.
Get real close.
The tight end thing, you're gonna catch some flack for it. But what I want my team to be the 49ers or the Chiefs. Like everybody in the league has a Dalton Schultz. Most teams in the league have a Blake Jarwin. 2 teams have Kelsey and Kittle. I want to be number 3. I want to be one of the teams that you have to game plan for my tight end. Jason Witten's a Hall of Famer, but it was out routes and stop route. Like I want the mismatch guy that you stay up at night worrying about because right now in the NFL, I think there's 2 teams that have that. I want to be number 3.
Those teams have had a lot of success. Yeah. And then Gronk, Gronk's a little different, but yeah.
Well, no, even in Tampa this year, Gronk was getting like 12 yards per catch.
Wow.
There's all these different 8-yard, 9-yard, 10-yard per catch tight ends. What if mine is one of the 15s? Holy cow, that's different.
Well, I like the idea of pits, but I also like using that pick on a corner or something else, an offensive lineman, and maybe finding your tight end later. What's also notable about this top 10 list is 2 players on it were not even tight ends in college. Waller was a wide receiver,
right,
and Thomas was a quarterback.
That's
who
right.
Still played QB in the NFL before eventually moving to tight end. So it's a mystery. It's one of the most difficult things for teams really to get their hands around.